Good day to you. This is my clip number 252, and this clip will have many important facts for you to remember regarding your COVID recovery. I am Dr. Lalith Mendis. My last substantive post was as head of Department of Pharmacology of a state medical faculty, and this if you send me a WhatsApp message to 076313480, only a WhatsApp message, 076313480, I can send you this document that I am going to discuss now. As you know, the most important thing in home management is to do your breath test or the breathing test properly with your pulse meter. So you have to take a chair, stand up, sit up for 10 seconds with your pulse meter on your finger, and then wait for 3 minutes after exercise. You will find how the pulse meter reading will be only after 3 minutes. So you have to keep watching it, and if it drops under 96, you have to go for hospital admission. Don't delay on it. And the good news is now that the NHSL takes in you for 24 hours and they'll transfer you to a suitable hospital, so you don't have to worry. And Kalubowila Colombo South Teaching Hospital also takes in anybody who needs hospitalization, and they will send you to an extension center. That's the situation in the government. Then the on-call system of 1390, that when you are COVID positive, you inform your PHI and he puts you on the 1390 on-call system where doctors follow you up. You can call them, consultants follow you up, and at any stage you show a red flag, you are channeled to a government hospital, so you don't have to panic. Then at the same time, we had to remind you that early molecules that are effective can be given to prevent hypoxia coming on. So the COVID disease is first a viral infiltration of your throat, and from your throat it goes to the lung. So that after the viral part, it causes a cytokine storm. It is an immune disturbance. So what happens is, if you are 5 days beyond and having fever still, then meanwhile you might have got diarrhea and a cough. There's a list of things you can do. If you write to me, I will send that to you. Not write meaning send me a WhatsApp only, 07631348000. Also, I have an article that I have written for the College of General Practitioners of Sri Lanka newsletter that will also help you to understand the progress of the disease. So after the viral invasion, there's a stage of immune disturbance called cytokine storm, lung getting infiltrated or the gut or both getting infiltrated. At each of those stages, there are things to give. If the lung is getting infiltrated and if your cough is getting worse, there's an old asthma inhaler called budesonide inhaler, which in the Oxford Stoic trial, it proved that it is effective to stop the lung getting worse. So that's a very important thing, because it will stop hypoxia. Molecules that can be given early to stop the viral multiplication as well as stop the immune reaction will also stop the hypoxia. That is why it is important to have early treatment. Even at home, you can have this early home therapy. And the document I send you, you need to show your doctor. You must not self-medicate yourself. So these are the early stages. So when, if as I said, oxygen starts dropping, you need hospital administration. Cinnamon tea has been found to be useful to help in the lung inflammation. And a Netherlands university did a study on that. That's called Ceylon cinnamon aldehyde. It is called the study. So these are some of the early things. Then there's an old molecule called promethazine. 25 milligrams twice a day also help the lung inflammation. So there are some things you can do to prevent the hypoxia coming in. But when hypoxia comes in and you find your oxygen saturation going down, you must go to a hospital, and in the hospital you will be given triple treatment. That is only in a hospital situation, so you don't try yourself. That hopefully will arrest the lung situation. But far better if you can prevent the lung situation. That is why early therapy is important. Then when you come after hospital discharge, you have to still watch your oxygen saturation, and during your time of early getting COVID, you have to use the prone position to sleep with your tummy down and shoulders little lift up, because that provides the best oxygenation, aeration, blood supply to the lung. Then those are early things, and when you are in one place, you must learn to do some exercise being in one place. Tighten your thigh muscles with your foot right in the air, so to say, because you write Ryan and Tan or E or B or whatever it is with your foot. When you're tempted, your muscles keep working and your veins keep flowing. A fruit up bowl is an excellent thing at any stage of the problem. Pineapple has bromelain, pear has quercetin. Drink a lot of tea which has quercetin. Then, as I said, there's a preventive drug that can be given to contacts. It's an early molecule drug that also can be used. It's now freely available in Sri Lanka. NMRA has given permission to import that drug. So while on bed in the early days, you must do your muscle exercises without exerting yourself. And even after you come back from home, if your lung was involved, full month of rest is very important. Even otherwise, 14 days of rest. This involves not getting into stressful work of any sort, homework, office work. Rest is very important for recovery of COVID patients, because your whole immune system went down under and many cellular systems went wrong. It's a strange thing in the COVID disease that your own immune cell fights against you when immune cells should be fighting for you. So in your WBC, if you find neutrophil lymphocyte ratio high, that means lymphocytes go down, neutrophil ratio goes up. And if it is something like 80% and let's say if it's something like 70% and lymphocyte 18%, that means the NL ratio, neutrocyte lymphocyte ratio, is about 5. If it goes above 5.4, then your lung is not in a good stage. And if CRP, C-reactive protein, keeps rising, that means your immune reaction is happening in the lung or in the gut, then you will need further treatment. Those are the conditions in which home management is not enough. You need further treatment. So if the pulse rate is high, it may be because of dehydration or it may be because of hypoxia. So if you get diarrhea, you must drink enough oral rehydration solution, commonly called Jeevani. Then if your lung is involved in the hospital, you will get the triple therapy. When you come home, you might have to use a syrup like Gaviscon because you may have some gastritis. Do not return to vigorous exercise or work, because though you have recovered from COVID, your body has not recovered. So get ready if you have had long lung involvement. It's like running a marathon and feel tired. Even for 3 months, go slow. It is far better than developing long COVID syndromes. So for the lung repair, your doctor may continue dexamethasone and antibiotics at home. Follow his advice. Then there's a syrup called bromhexine, which you can take early, 10 milliliters twice a day. That can, prevent too much of lung damage. Bromhexine. All this is available when I can send you the document. Then some of the drugs that are prescribed after COVID recovery, it may increase your stress. Your sleep pattern has to be recovered. Then I told you before, budesonide puff, the physician may continue. It is also useful in the acute stage. So there are some other molecules that have been tried in other countries. Rest and sleep are very important. Absolute bed rest even after coming home, at least for 10 days. If your lung was involved, even otherwise, it has to be a very slow, measured recovery, getting back into normal activity. Restore sleep-awake rhythm, because in some people the biological clocks are involved in the COVID process. Reduce LED screens and lights so that you may have your sleep undisturbed. You need to get your melatonin secreting again in the normal way at 6 p.m. and have a good night rest. Get back your normal dream sleep pattern and the wake pattern. So prayer, song, cheery atmosphere all help. Some people get a metabolic rate increase that will have to be attended with anxiolytic sedatives. You may sweat abnormally and so on. Discuss this with your physician. Nutraceuticals, regular large amounts of common tea. The Ceylon black tea is excellent. Cinnamon tea is useful. Then you have to continue your vitamin D. A mega dose, take it as you are finishing the disease, 60,000. Oral dose, zinc, vitamin A. Lots of tea, toast with mustard, onions, kaluduru, suduru, ginger brew, rasam, all those are helpful. Onions are very helpful because onions have quercetin that helps in the immune process. Omega-3 fish oils help build up normal immunity. Now remember, your immune processes have gone through a war. They have to be built up. So a big bowl of pineapple, apple, pear, all that is useful because those, and orange of course, those fruits have immune building properties. Then garlic curry is useful to build immunity. Usual kottamalli. Then the dal curry, the dal protein, legumin protein is useful for lung building. They have found. Yes. Then some people have found that cloves, chewing cloves helps lung recovery because cloves, karabu neti, has oxygen radical absorbing capacity. Yes. Then family members can be given first line protection with this drug that is now freely available in Sri Lanka. More details, please send me a WhatsApp number to 0763134800. Yes. So this is a little bit about the post-COVID care. And when you are in your 5th day and fever continuing, it's a sign that the processes are getting not so good inside you. So you have to get to a doctor and get a full blood cell count and a CRP, C-reactive protein count. If the C-reactive protein, CRP, keeps going up, it means that your lung processes are getting involved in an immune reaction that can become dangerous. Then at the same time, dengue is spreading. So sometimes the two gets confused. So be aware that your fever may be dengue also. But do not neglect any fever. Because I find some people have gone to here and there and they have fiddled with it while spreading COVID also. So moment you have fever, or even without fever you get that funny feeling of body aches, you have to be careful that it could be COVID, that you don't give it to your family members. So you have to practice strict isolation measures at home also. So that's a little update on the COVID, how you can look after yourself after COVID recovery, how you can look after yourself or your relative when they are in home management. The little bit of good news that is coming through is government hospitals have beds are becoming a little easier and so on. So we are thankful for that. Now I want to read a passage a little passage for you to understand. I have called this, the first part is the COVID management, second part is the sociological and ecological downturn. So here you will hear wars and rumors of war, and you will be frightened. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against nation. So this is a time all the natural resources of every nation is being taken into the hands of a few global dinosaurs, the Plutarchs, the global oligarchs, and they have made the new billionaires have appeared just in 1 year. You know, billionaire needs usually a lifetime of work, but pandemic has provided for billionaires to get very rich. So the world's nations' resources, finances, that's there for housing, clothing, education, food and health, 5 basic needs, are being infiltrated, and world over countries are getting into trouble. So what is this phenomenon? I have done a clip called the four horses. That is a white horse that is spreading this, conquering the mindsets of people. A white horse conquering the mindsets of people, shooting arrows to the mindsets. What is the mindset that is going on? Mindset that is going on is the opinion of one's nation is not important, a global plutocracy, a global deciding body decides how health should be run, how finances should be run. That's what the pandemic has done. Already we had global players infiltrating or interfering with nations through human rights, LGBTQ activities, then of course with financial aid policies where the trade and aid always benefits the richer nations. We have had global interference, but pandemic has provided unlimited opportunities for sovereign nations to be taken under a global ruling system by legislating, enacting global health policies that will affect every nation. That's the time we are in. So that white horse shooting invisible arrows from a bow refers to the mindsets of global policy makers, which gives very little freedom for a sovereign nation to handle their finances, handle their health policy, handle their education, handle their family values. It's all going under a global value system. It's not merely losing national sovereignty, it's losing personal freedom of choice, losing personal freedom of expression. So if you try to present a counter view of the present systemic view of the pandemic, you'll be out of Twitter, you'll be out of Facebook, you'll be out of this, that, and the other. So it's so guarded and regulated, so that the global health policy will be the way the global rules, the plutarchs, make sovereign nations no more sovereign, but the nations have to listen to these policies and these economic policies. Nations are losing their own government because so many outside interferences are influencing decisions that you seem as if you have no choice. So what are they influencing you towards? Here is a passage that will give you understanding where the world has come to. All the nations will be gathered, and then there's a separation of sheep from the goats. So there's an attitude in nations like the sheep who follow a shepherd, an attitude like the goat who does his own thing. So then the king will say to those, come, I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. So global hunger is becoming a huge problem. Global food production, every nation's food production is becoming a huge problem, because so much of resources that was needed for food, housing, education, basic needs like that, and health has gone on to other fields. So hunger is, so the sheep kind look after the hungry. The goat kind produce or provoke hunger and take policies that will cause hunger. So when there is a lot of cash crops in former arable land where there was food production, so food production is going down and consumerist production is going up. This is what has happened from 1970. Now in 1970 the GDP, world's GDP, about 70% was in the hands of about 30%, little unequal but not too bad. Now about 99% of the world economy is decided by 1%, and more than 70% of the world economy goes for non-essential consumerist items. Essential items would be housing, education, health and food, but 70% gets invested in things other than housing, food, education and health. That's the tragedy mankind has come to. So this is why the king who is coming on examination is saying, I was hungry, the sheep kind gave me to eat. I was thirsty, sheep kind gave me to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in, because in each one's, your own nation, you are becoming strangers, and many people are losing their country, they are migrating here, there and everywhere. All migrants, causes a kind of homelessness. All migrants cause a kind of nationlessness, and often feeling of migrating, moving around all the time. So lots of people think there's no future here, so they try to find a future somewhere else. So that's a engineered process where people feel strange in different lands. Then I was naked and you clothed me. So nakedness and that kind of debauchery, LGBTQ agenda, immorality has become a vast enterprise. It has become a vast industry, pedophilia and all that. So that is that part of it. So sheep kind are those who protect the human future. Those who, when the Good Shepherd designed our life, he said, consider the next generation. Be fruitful, multiply, and fill what you have. Steward what others have for the next generation. Steward the next generation, that they will have their plot, and they will have their space, and they will have their time. That's what has been robbed of the future generation. So the last one is, I was sick and you visited me. So you can see that wellness, illness industry is producing billions for some people, isn't it? This pandemic, the illness, trading on the illness and the pandemic has produced billions for some people. All the nations of the world are getting impoverished because they have to buy stuff so much because of the pandemic. So it's a terrible thing. Sickness has become a multi-billion dollar industry. And then finally, the sixth thing, I was in prison and you came to me. So the sheep kind are keeping people safe, and the goat kind coerce governmental policies will come all over the globe, and people being imprisoned. That's what the Good Shepherd sees of the world that he made. Then they will say, when did we do this? And then the Good Shepherd says, whenever you help someone else, you help really me. Now, this is not airy-fairy. Look at this statement. The sociological and the ecological downturn. Pandemic is big-time news. All the news items are pandemic news items. But consider this one. What do you think about this news item? Here it is. Here it is. There will be fear in the nations and distress among the nations, perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. So you know that New York went under floods. The storms are getting more violent. La Nina and El Nino phenomena are working all the time. And roaring of the sea means obviously the global warming, ocean warming, and men fainting from fear and the expectation of things which are coming upon the world. So the time has come. The ocean science and the ecological science, global warming science, has arrested the attention of many. So we are already living in a time that ecological, sociological disturbances, family broken up, marriage no more enduring, people don't have family values, parents have other priorities besides children, and children also so digitized they are losing their family connection. So humanity's last bridge of survival is the family. God the Good Shepherd created the world for families, to look after families, procreate and have families and keep having families. So there are so many modern innovations and cultural, moral aptitudes that have destroyed the family. Many people don't think marriage is life-lasting. They just try it and see. Many people don't marry. They live together without marrying, without nuptial responsibility, without children responsibility. Then the LGBTQ agenda, transgenderism, all that has ruined the family. So when the family is ruined, we think mankind's time, is something gone wrong? Are we on an accelerated destruction program? And when the pandemic came and it's ruining our immunity, and sickness becomes the world's most potent industry, we know some things are terribly wrong. So at a time like this, the Good Shepherd says, I give you green pastures and you will not want. I lead you into clear waters, morally, spiritually, economically, health-wise. I lead you to clear waters. So it's a choice that whether we will be led into those clear waters or whether we will try our own methods of survival. Then he says, I will lead you in the paths of righteousness. Then he says, I will give you time for restoration, recovery, then though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he says, he will still keep us. So COVID has become a shadow that has produced death all over the world. The rich, the poor, everyone equally involved. Developed nations, developing nations, very rich nations, very poor nations, all involved. So it is time to check what are all these saying. Is pandemic only part of a ecological, sociological upheaval? Is there a good shepherd who looks after his sheep, and we have turned to be goats doing our own thing? Is that the trouble with us? It's a time to question. We made science our God. Has science been a faithful God? When we throw the one who said, I'm the good shepherd, I'll look after you, we have many innovations that we have for ourselves to make ourselves strong, so that we don't need a good shepherd. Our wisdom, our knowledge was long enough for us. It looked as if it's doing well, but now it has come to a time of stock taking. How do we go from here? So please download my app. It is Golden Nuggets, Dr. Lalith Mendis. It's free to download. All my scientific talks are there. You can get it from Apple Store or Google. And if you want any other, this is my 252 clip. If you want any other clips before on home management, 7th day, first 5 days of COVID, the immune battle, many other related topics, please send me a WhatsApp number asking for what you want. A WhatsApp message to 076 313 4800. Thank you for listening.